hello everyone, and today we're starting our tricking podcast. Me, Vasily Tatarnikov, and William Thomas Coneys started with the both sides. Me from Russia, you from USA. We have a 12 hours jet lag, time lag, and yeah. I think this will be great. We will invite guests in the future podcasts.
Yep.
Talk more about the future of tricking, how it begins, and how you can even imagine how it would be. So let's introduce ourselves for the beginning, for the very beginning.
Okay.
So who are you and who are you
All
from?
right. So my name is William Thomas Coneys, but for the most part, the tricking community knows me as Will Coneys. I was born and raised in the United States, more specifically Arlington, Virginia. I now live in Alexandria, Virginia, which is about 5 minutes away. I've been tricking for, I want to say, just about officially about 15 years now, somewhere in that area.
Oh, no way. Really?
I officially started in 2006. Officially, I started in 2006, and unofficially, I mean, I was backyard tricking, from like, 2000, around 2000 era. So around 2000, so that's when I started like getting like kind of deeper into it. But yeah, it's been about a little under 15 years, I want to say, just about.
But after the backyard, how it was? Like you...
Yeah, so after the backyard, I got into martial arts when I was 15, 16. So that's where it started officially. That's where the tricking journey started officially. I started martial arts then, and then, I started off with my team, CFC, because they were the ones to show me what tricking actually was, and I didn't really know what it was. So,
yep.
I was kind of just doing the flips and doing the kicks and not really understanding like there was an actual term for it and there was actual names for the movements. So, I started martial arts with my team. That's where I met some of, my family now. My boy Javier, his sister Gabby, their brother Renee, Scarlett, Asadia, and her sister Carla, their brother Franco, my master Emerson Doyle, some other names, my boy Josh Bunch. We all like that's where I started. That's where I got my start at. And ever since then, it's just been, just whoosh. It just took off,
Maybe there was some video, there was some Jackie Chan action movie or something. How do you...
And there was. And that's a great point because we've actually had this, you and I have had this conversation before too. So initially what started my love of, just martial arts in general was me and my grandfather watching movies at the age of like, when I was like 3, watching videos like late at night, watching Jackie Chan films. And then me watching... Sonic at early in the morning, and then
no way.
Watching the Power Rangers for the first time in like 1995 when they first came out, and then like me automatically wanting to just go do a backflip off of a tree, and that's what started. Like that's where it all just took off. I literally like that first backflip off of a tree and fail was what started like my passion for martial arts, and ever since then it just kept going. And I didn't get to do that. And I like I said, I just started doing everything that I saw on TV, because the internet wasn't really a thing. And, it was the early 90s, dude. It was like this isn't like now where everybody sits on their iPads and computers and tablets and phones. No, in the 90s, you went outside and played. You didn't have a choice. You went outside and played. You played in the dirt. You played on the grass. And that's where it all started. I was just tumbling on like concrete and blacktop and grass. Like everything was just wild. Like it was all like super duper wild. So, I mean, it's just been a lifelong kind of thing. So, it's been a lifelong love. And I've been very grateful and very blessed to, be able to have that now, as I'm older, as I'm 31 now. So it's been beautiful.
Wow. So I have one one story about the not martial arts, but about the flipping in my childhood. It's really.
Hey, I want to hear this.
Yeah, it's really funny because I have the scar right here.
Tricking scars, tricking battle wounds. I know them well.
Yeah, I try one on the English, but excuse me for my like really poor English because no any practicing in a years actually after the school, after the university. So when I was a kid, I was in
daycare. I think that's what it is.
Care
yeah,
or
like you have like daycare and like school, like little schools. Yeah, no,
yes. Kids daycare. So I really love the Mortal Kombat action movie, and I have the videotape on the VHS, and there was I think there was a second movie actually. Mm-hmm. And there was a guy who just ran, and there was some table or something, but really low, and the guy just jump over it, do the front flip, and go and run. And I was like, okay, the kid, I was like, okay, I'm ready.
You think, yo, I can do that easy. That's not hard.
I don't know. There was a chair like 20 centimeters, or something like this, and I was like, okay, I'm ready for my first front flip, and I'm concentrated. I'm ready. Actually, I think I wasn't ready. I wasn't something like okay. But right now I talking story like this. So, in Russia, in the daycares after the USSR, there was something like very metal. I think like something like there was a door or something.
Right.
Imagine this: very small room. In the middle there is a chair, and in 1 meter there was something like door, and with this angle like 19 degrees metal.
I get what you mean.
And I was like, it's safety. Yeah, I'm thinking about it, and I'm ready for the front flip.
Mentally getting your mind ready for it.
Yeah, like right now I'm doing the tricks at the gym. So okay, I need to concentrate and this and that. So I will run like this, and there was a chair. I just jump on it, trying to do something. I don't know actually what is actually was.
Yeah.
But like there was my leg, and the chair like flip like
Oof.
and I was like. I was like Superman, like this, and I think, and I just fly on it.
Feel it, yeah.
Everything was in the blood, everything, Next thing I remembered, hospital with my with some nurse, with some. They called to my father. He asked from his employer, like, can I go home? My kid is injured and I need to save him. I remember the thing like
stitch in your head. Yup, I know that feeling.
Yep. And very first question to my father was like, okay, father, can we watch the Mortal Kombat once more? Because something I was wrong about it, the front flip. And he said, okay.
Honestly, I get that too. I get it too. I've done that too. I've done that so where like I'm looking at something and I'm like, I got it, and then it doesn't work, and I get hurt, and I'm like, wait, I need to watch this one more time because I thought I had it, and maybe I missed something. So you got to go back and restudy that entire clip all over again. That's where you first learned. That's where, like I said, I feel like that's when that's where trickers first learned how to like rewatch their clips. When you were trying something really stupid, and then they're just like, wait, let me go back and fix that. And it wasn't even for our own stuff. It was for movies and everything else. And you know, I feel like that's just a great thing. Like that's a great time. Like, because it's the moment where we knew we wanted to do the most wild and craziest things that you shouldn't probably be doing, but you know you're gonna do it anyway. So I mean, I absolutely get it.
Right now we have a really one of the best possibility to sorry for my like Russian accent, like
very good.
right now it's a very good times to start tricking, actually, because the technologies just helped us to record the videos, record something and put it into the internet, and after that others can be motivated by you, and you can be the coach, you can be the like gymnast, tricker, parkour guy, and it just doesn't matter who you are. You can start tricking right now easily. There is a lot of gyms, there is a lot of stuff you can watch, you can learn, you can ask. You can just text to the real Coneys right now. And
you absolutely can. Like, and that's the thing. And I absolutely agree. Because I do think right now is probably one of the best times to be tricking and to learn tricking, because not only do you have the technology to record yourself, to watch clips, to watch samplers and stuff like that, but the innovation and just the amount of training that everybody is doing right now is growing exponentially. Because, you know, I'll say it, like, I think for the last maybe 5 years, there's been a little bit of a stagnant kind of plateau in the tricking community. There's only a few people really doing bigger things and kind of coming up with new ideas.
Yeah, but actually, in the breakdancing, in the capoeira, in many various other communities about the sport, about something they need to be fit, strong, doing flips and something like that.
Absolutely right, and that's the thing. Like, and I think within those communities, there's also been kind of a jump in just kind of like where they like how they train, being healthier, kind of like really putting in a lot more to what they're doing. And I think tricking has been kind of having that little bit of a balance. And then within the last year or two, I think that's also skyrocketed because of the simple fact that while everything has been shut down, trickers have been trying to find ways to train. They've been trying to get healthy, rehabbing from injuries, and change into like just their tricking power level and the growth, you know. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a very beautiful thing. And you now have the ability to train with people who you may not have been able to train with beforehand. You know, people are becoming
with the legends.
We're witnessing new legends and new innovative styles being created right now. And it's a great thing to see. You know, you've got the older legends who are still tricking, and, you know, a good bit of them are still tricking and still helping and still in the community. But you're now witnessing the birth of the next wave of trickers. And I can say that because I've witnessed different waves of trickers as I've been alive and seeing tricking, you know what I mean? So for me, it's always beautiful to see the next generation come up, but it's especially more beautiful now to see the level of the next generation coming up, because it's not how like we saw like the kind of standard progression line happening. No, we're seeing it go from like this to this in such a short amount of time. And it's so beautiful to see it. It's beautiful to see it. You know, I'm excited.
There was a guy when we shoot a documentary about tricking I Can Be a Hero. There's one more story I can tell, like really a long time.
Right.
But let's think about this thesis. So there was a guy in Moscow, Alexander Rizhov,
Okay.
and he say like there is a 1, 2, or maybe 3 years I need to think about this thesis to actually understand what is he saying, because he's saying like every generation of trickers needs less time to understand how to flip easily, how to do how to add more flips in one jump and something like this. I was like, what? Like there was 10 years ago, for example, less gyms, and that's all. But actually, he's saying like, for example, there was 3 Amigas after the new generation, like Aiden Kennedy or something, and right now we have one more new generation. And there was a guy who did Ashley said to me, like, there was a guy who did first dub in the very first year of tricking.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And I was thinking, like, how it's even can be possible. And his opinion and my opinion right now also is like, when you start to do some new sport, it's like inventing the new tricks. And when you inventing something, you can't like, for example, the Tony Hawk and the skateboarding, yes?
Yeah.
So you have a deck, and you have the
the trucks, the wheels, yeah,
and your body. What you can do with this one? You can flip it like this. You can try to flip it like this. What next? Let's think about this one. And the guy started to invent some tricks. But the first guy who did the process of invention of the new trick, it's like spending the hours, like up to 100 hours, 100s of hours to invent it. After that, he go to some guy and say, okay, you need to put your leg like this and did this one. And after that, the guy like, and he spent like 10 hours. After that, this guy will teach some other kids, other young boys and girls, and he say like, okay, this leg here and there, and like this, 1 hour. That's it.
Yeah, and you know, and that's honestly and absolutely very true. Like, if you take tricking, like I said, in its whole, 10 to 15 years ago, you know, people were doing, Snapu was considered the holy grail of things. Snapu, dubs, you know, cheat heads, all of that was considered upper echelon type movements. Now those are considered like kind of like kindergarten / like first grade type of stuff. And it's so wild because, you know, I'll say this because like when I started was right around the time where tricking was still pretty much like you didn't really know about it unless you were a martial artist or unless you knew martial artists. And that was back when it was still like being done at tournaments off to the side on like mats and like concrete covered carpet. And you had people like Jeremy Marinas, like Daniel Graham, Seshomaru, Luke Broadlick, Anthony Atkins, you know, just certain, you know, just those names alone hold so much history. You know, you had the legendary team loop kicks, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, dude, like, used to see them, like, to train with them at a NASCAR tournament was the epitome of tricking back in the day. And now you train, like, now it's like training with people like, you know, Tiki Wu and, you know, Jose and Michael Guthrie and Aiden Kennedy and, you know, like Mons, Court Corkson, you know, people like that. Like, now you train with them. Now you train with them in such a regular setting. You train with them in such a regular way that it's not even like it's a big deal, but you realize that, like, these are people that are doing these wild ass things and these crazy things. And it's just like, back then that would have been like, you would have been like at the table, like you would have been at like the top. And I'm not going to lie, like, and it's still like that now, but it's so much more regular and it's so much more like just calming and it's natural. And not only that, but the progression of tricking back then to now has also skyrocketed because you have, like I said, people doing like, you know, box cutters and double B twist. And like I said, stuff like that to where it was like, that was enough to shut down a session. You know, that was enough to shut down the entire session. And like, everybody would be losing their minds to a point now where like when somebody does a double B twist, it's just like, okay, now let's variate it. Let's add to it. And I'm just like, you know, it's wild to see that, you know, and I'll be honest. I think one of the craziest things that I've seen within the last maybe 2 or 3 years isn't so much the tricks themselves, but it's like the rate of progression. And I'll take this. I'll use this as an example. Let's take Shosei. And it was funny because I actually saw this in Kyle Skelly's video. Shosei himself is a prime example of tricking progression skyrocketing. This man from like the time he was like, what, 9, 7 or 8 to like the time he turned like 12 or 13, he was on a regular progressive scale. And then 1 year is all it took for that to go from like a 3 to a 9.5 to the point where this man was breaking tricking limits in a year and a half. It's nonsense, but it makes perfect sense because it was only a matter of time before, you know, it was only a matter of time before the progression just skyrocketed. And I know a lot of people like to put it like a lot of trickers like to put it this way. It accumulates to Dragon Ball Z in an anime reference because you had Goku, who spent most of his life training power leveling up. His sons almost immediately surpassed that.
Yep.
And that's what it is. And to the point now you have like, not even just Shosei, like you have people like Shosei, Ethan Turner, Levi Borrego. I just watched Levi's new sampler. Bot Tricking just dropped Levi's sampler. This kid literally is just like doing the stupidest things. And it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Like, you know, kids like, oh, and let me just bring it back. Ilya. When Ilya came on the circuit, Jesus, like I think everybody at that point was like, where the hell did this kid come from? You know, and it's just funny to see cases like that where the progression goes from like, oh, I'm gonna land my first double B twist and it's dope, to the point where this man's you're just doing quads. Like, all right, what do I do next? You know, that's crazy. That shit's crazy. Like, I mean, how do you
Like,
you're talking about like the gatherings, when you and Ilya met, or you and Aiden met, or Shosei met.
When I met Aiden, so here's the funny thing that I don't think a lot of people know this. Like, I've known Aiden Kennedy since he was like 7. I have said this from the very beginning. Aiden Kennedy was going to grow up to become a straight monster in the game. And I battled him at a martial arts tournament It was called Amerikick. This was back when I was still competing in the Oscar tournament. Aiden Kennedy was 7. This kid was like small, really shy, didn't really say too much, but you know, he put himself out there, and he beat me at 7 years old. This man beat me.
7 years.
Yes, and I admit to that. Like and at the time, like me and his mom were talking, and she asked me a question because Aiden trained with a martial arts school, Martial Posture, who's run by Ish Payne. I've known them for years. Great people. They've raised a ton of martial artists, including Alex Hunter. Alex Hunter came out of that, you know, and we all know him. Trichadelphia, Ish Payne, and you know, all those guys down there, you know, like it was just great. And I remember his mother coming up to me afterwards, and his mother was like, "Will, can I ask you a question?" I was like, "Yeah, sure. What's up?" She's like, "Did you let Aiden win?" I was like, "Hell no. I ain't let that kid win. There's no way in hell I was gonna let him win." She was like, "Okay." And I told her, and I was like, at that point, I was like, "Nah, he's a monster. He's a beast." And I will to this day forever say, like, that was when I knew when he beat me, I knew he was going to be a monster. And I was proven right. I was proven correct. And Aiden Kennedy to this day is still one of my favorite triggers to watch. His cleanliness is on point. His weapon work on point. The fact that this man battles like a freaking monster. Like he's the most unassuming person at times. But when he steps foot on that floor, it's a whole different. That's like raw. It's like the monster just comes out of nowhere. It is great. It's great to see it, you know?
Yeah, he's really technical.
Love looking at it. Like there are times where I'm just like wondering, like, yo, like, nah.
He's very stretched up.
His extension is without a doubt the best in the game. I'll say it. Like that for me, his extension and his technical just work is literally top tier. Absolute top tier.
How to grow the champion? Okay, this question will be the best.
Now that is a very broad question, but I think we can answer this. So growing a champion in terms, are we saying a champion, or are we saying like a high level athlete? So if we're saying a high level athlete in the tricking community, I would say that there are many different factors that follow into that, being that, you know, making sure that you kind of have a place to train at, or, you know, you're able to utilize space to train. And then 2, I would say like one of the biggest things is having a community, because yes, you can always train by yourself, but I think having a community will further to push you up into that upper echelon of trickers. Because if you think about it, like I said, like a lot of people, even if they didn't have such a big community, they had at least a small enough community and friends and people to help them once they got to that point. I think in order to become a top tier tricker, you have to, 1, really understand that for you to get to that level, you have to be dedicated. Now,
but
I think the dedication, because I think the dedication in itself is very, very necessary. You have to be dedicated to anything that you do if you want to be top level, as well as the mentality of, you know, I would say the mentality of understanding that you may make it, you may not, but the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. You know what I mean? And like I said, I think you also have to have a little bit of craziness, because tricking is not for this. I don't want to say it's not for the sane people, but it is, you know, you have a level of like crazy in a good way. Like you want to explore the deep depths of human movement and how we can make
fuck internet.
Like how we can make things, you know, happen. You know, I think that's a big thing. You know, from a personal perspective, I think you have to really, I think it's just a matter of, like I said, you have to really want it. You have to really want it, and you have to be willing to push yourself to that limit and push yourself to that point. Yeah. Now, that also goes to say that, there are times when you won't make it, and there are different reasons why you may or may not be at that upper level, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine too. I think it's just depending on how you are as a person and how you really want to go into it. And I say this because, so I'll say this much, and I'm going to use this one.
Okay.
I'm going to use this one example. If any of the tricking community knows who this kid is, No Excuses. Now, No Excuses kid was, and I don't remember his name. And if you are listening to this, please, help me out with the name. I forgot it. My bad. But No Excuses was known by everyone for the specific fact that this man, he was on the bigger side, but that never stopped him from tricking. This man was doing B-twists, cartfuls, like 540 hook. Like, this man was going in. Shout out to No Excuses. Like, let him rest in peace, But he wasn't doing like dubs. He wasn't doing dub trips, stuff like that. He was known because he never gave up. He made it so that there was no excuse for you not to be doing what you want to do for any reason at all. And that, for me, is one of the biggest things, saying that, if you want to be higher level, it's all depending on how much you want to put into it. Because you may not be known for like the biggest level tricks. You may be known for your personality, for your heart, for your spirit. And that's why I say, put it in there. Because you may not be worldwide, but you may be known in your community.
In my opinion, there is a few options you need to know about tricking and how to grow the tricking beast. The first one, there is as much you aged and started to do tricks, the more things you think you will never, and it's about the mentality. You will never you will never do, and it's impossible to do. Like right now, me, it's 27. And I'm right now like, okay, I can do the backflip, but can I even imagine that I can be the double backflip?
Yeah.
I'm really scared about this one, but every time I'm a photographer, and when I go to the sports photo session at some trampoline guys and some gyms around Russia and something, there was really young kids that do the double backflips, triple backflips, and I was like, that's insane, because like
they're mentally they have no fear, or they have no fear.
Exactly.
And that's also, and I actually do agree with that. I do agree with that, because when you're that young and you see something and you do it and you realize that it's possible, your brain is going to be like, all right, I'm going to start doing everything.
Okay, I can do this. Oh, yeah, like me at the childhood who want to do the front flip in my kindergarten,
Exactly. And we've all been there, and we've all done that. So I think in terms of age, I think even at an older age, you can trick, but you definitely have a little bit more reserve, because you don't want to get hurt. You don't want to get injured.
You have some mental barriers you build to yourself, actually. And this is about the psychology. This is about the mental power of yourself. Because when you have any coach, no one, like back in the days, 10 years ago, 12, 15 years ago, there was the young boys, like any others. They tried to do something like some flips from the parents' backyards and something like this, and they just look for a Jackie Chan. They was looking for some action movies, and they trying to do like them because they saw it's possible. But actually, there was no any computer CG, computer graphics, 15
Yeah, no, like the super,
backflips in a
yeah,
row.
no, I get you, I get you. Like,
Yeah,
and that's the
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
like, yeah, like, no, I get that. Like, and like I said, I think, to be completely honest, I think nowadays, like, kids are still that fearless, but they have a lot more to work with because now that we have the ability to show them what it looked like, they know what not to do early on. Versus like with us, we had to figure out what not to do, and the only way we could figure that out was by getting hurt.
Yes.
I do believe, you know, one of the other big things to being a top level, you know, tricker is, you know, I think that you have to put yourself out there. I think a lot of people are afraid to put themselves out there because they're going to look stupid, or they're, you know, not going to be taken seriously, or they're, you know, they're scared. And to all of those people out there who think that you can't be a top level tricker because you're not doing like dubs and trips, dude, excuse my language, but F that. Okay? F that. You can be one of the greatest trickers in the world, even if you're doing like basic kicks. If you make them your own and you make them sharp, you make them like crisp, you make them saucy, you give them everything that you have, you can be known in the best, you can be known as one of the best in the world off of that reason alone. Like, it's just a matter of how much you put yourself out there.
Right now, I'm thinking about to combine a few sites. We started from the, for example, skateboarding.
Yep.
So let's think about the bodybuilding. Yes. So when you want to be the Arnold Schwarzenegger, you need to have a healthy nutrition.
Yep.
You need to train a lot. You need to train a lot. You need to be stable mentally, actually, but a bit wild about the gym, about the weights, because your goal to be the one of the biggest muscle man and something like this.
No, I get that.
And yes. So actually, right now, my mom have some troubles with the heart, have some troubles with the thrombosis how to say it.
Yeah, I understand that.
All of the medicine says like, you can't lift any weights. You need to take a rest a lot. But there's they saying it because when you have this diagnosis, you are like, you need to take care about your body.
Right.
But if we think more about it, something that brings you to this level of disease, it's like your nutrition, your low-level activity, your mentality, and so on and so on.
Right.
And when my mother asked like what I can do with myself to live longer or something, I'm saying like, you need to eat well, and not just like one day per.
Yeah.
Yes, it's about to build the system.
And I get that. And I think, you know, that also is something for trickers that, they can actually work on, is having a better diet, you know, having a better way of going about, like, you know, recovery and rehab. I know that recently Trick Strong, which I've known that you know, Neil has always been really good about that. Like, Neil is a great guy. He just started Trick Strong RX. Now that, honestly, I feel like is a great place for trickers to start off with, especially now for the recovery game, rehab, nutritional facts, you know, as well as being able to work with, you know, injuries. Because as trickers, we have the ability to do so much power and so much stuff, but that also comes at a price, which means we damage and injure things far easier and far quicker than I think most other people do. And just because, you know, we don't want to stop. And the problem with that is that, like, it is going to affect us later on in life. It's going to affect us hard. Like, I'm not going to lie. I am guilty of that hard. Like, my ass does not sit down when I need to. The pandemic this year is probably the longest time where I was not training. I don't think I've taken an actual break for longer than maybe, I want to say, a week or so. And I realized that when I actually took a break and, rehab and stretched and, did a lot of things, it helped my body out, and my body started recovering faster, and it started becoming a little bit easier to handle. We definitely need to take better care of our bodies, especially like the older triggers. Like, I am by no means one of the older trigger. I guess I am an older trigger because I'm 31. So in a sense, I am an older trigger, but like, guys like Mateo, I think just turned 38. He had an ACL surgery, if I'm not mistaken, and he's getting back into it. But this man also has a very regular diet. He trains, very smart. He takes care of his body. And I think the younger generation now can definitely take from that. I'm not going to lie, it is a little bit more difficult for me, but I also feel like I'm reaching my peak power levels right now. Like, this is like the second peak power, and this is like the true peak power levels, because within the last, couple of weeks, maybe 3 or 4 months, I've hit things that that have never been consistent before. That have never been consistent. And that comes from stretching, working out a little bit more. I don't weight lift like that because it's just a personal preference, but I'm trying to eat a little bit better, stretching, get a little bit more of like my diet back on shape. So, it's very wild to see this. And it's very wild to like understand that. And I think now that needs to be more of a thing. And like I said, Tricking RX is one of those great places now for trickers that I would highly suggest you going towards, as well as a lot of trickers are now becoming like nutritionists. They're becoming massage therapists. They're becoming PTs. I know,
exactly.
Personal, and I know a lot of trickers right now that are doing that work. And I highly recommend that trickers as a whole start looking into that a lot, especially the younger generation coming in now, because that will definitely help you out.
There is a bodybuilding and tricking. You can combine that.
Okay. Yeah. You can't. So you mean like weightlifting and tricking in itself, like coming together? No, you're absolutely very right about that.
Yeah, when you connect these two big things about the sport, actually, you are about to how the sport in the world, how the worldwide sport is growing actually. Because, like, let's start with the skateboarding. There was a Tony Hawk, there was a lot of other guys, but Tony Hawk was the, like right now, it's a very old man, but he did a huge thing for the whole community. Let's talk about a lot of like guys who started to do the bodybuilding or calisthenics, but like for example, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the main figure with the Joe Wader who did the whole thing. Like they write books, they shoot a lot of documentaries, they shoot a lot of action movies and so on and so on. Every time these type of guys just slowly raising with some gatherings. After that, they win or lose some of them. After that, they are businessmen. They are doing their career in TV, in the action movies, and so on and so. So when I was thinking about how to help actually tricking community, there was an answer I like. But
now, see, that's where it's difficult. And so the reason why it's difficult is because tricking in itself is not it's ready for that, but it's not ready for that because you have such a very big divide on tricking should have like that kind of representation that all the other sports do versus it being kind of more of the underground kind of like we don't want corporations in it type of thing. And the thing is that there have been attempts at it. There have been attempts at it, and they've not gone completely well.
With these little baby steps, we can we can together build a very community like skateboarding, like UFC, like any other. Because like I think with our podcast, with other podcast about the tricking, it's about to burn more minds about the tricking is the actual sport will like growing and after 10 years and yes,
it absolutely will. And I think, like I said, with podcasts and everybody talking about it and you just events happening, I think it will grow that. I do still think that we're a far ways off, mainly for the simple fact that like we still haven't been able to figure out a balance, because again, you still have a majority of the community that's not for making it like a sport versus versus the community that is for making it. And I think, like I said, there's always going to be a bit of a division on that. And I think we're still a couple years, if not like maybe within the next decade, from finding a balance where if people want to do that, they can. If people don't, they don't have to. But, you know, it's hard. And I don't know personally, I think everybody should do what makes them happy. If they want to like make it a sport, if they want to do it in a sports setting, they can. If you don't, that's also perfectly fine.
Yes.
Like I said, I really do believe that both aspects can work. It's just going to be hard making them work at the current moment, because at the current moment, we're still in the phase of finding a balance in our own self of like how people trick and how people kind of like, you know, how communities interact and, you know, finding.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think, like I said, we need to figure that out first before we can kind of go down the route of making it of like it being like a legit sport, because with being a legit sport also comes with like a lot of rules and a lot of regulations. And we're not going to lie, like trickers are not, we don't do rules and regulations. That's the reason why tricking is the way that it is.
Wait a second. But if you are like right now, the skateboarding is Olympic discipline.
It is.
But also you can use your skateboard to just riding over the streets.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Like it took them a long time for them to have that balance and that respect for the Olympic level and just the regular, like, you know, community feeling level. And even within that community, there's still some, you know, some little issues here and there. And that's why I say tricking in itself has not gotten to that point. We're slowly starting to kind of build on that, but we're not there yet. And I think within the next maybe 10 years or so, if not maybe sooner, we'll find that balance. I think right now, the biggest thing for us is kind of coming to a sense of like the actual community itself, because, you know, we're still finding new communities. We're still building new communities, like tricking around the world. We're still like trying to like find each other and, you know, build each other up. And, you know, I think we're still working on that. So as it becoming a regular, like an actual sport, I don't think that's going to happen within the next year or two. I think it can happen within the next decade, but we'll see. We'll see how that plays out.
I try to build a complex overall overall tricking community setup. How it's right now. It's 2021, and how guys are ready. What is about the tricking and so on and so on. So let's talk more, a bit more about the kids, because I have a really good example for you. Maybe I'm not right.
Well, no. Let's hear the example, and we'll go into that.
What we got? There is this AA type alkaline, batteries. So when you're a young boy, you have this one. There is a body.
Okay.
You are the parent. You go. You pick your kid and go to the gym and say, "Who can teach him a tricking beast?"
Okay.
And someone say, "Okay, I will try to do this, and this will be the best coach ever about the tricking." And he will put mental information to him, okay, you can do this, you can definitely can, you need to try this one, and so on and so on. He will try to do the splits, he will try to do the stretch, he will try to do the first landing with the not the hard floor, but the soft one at the gyms, like backflips, corks, and so on and so on. First kicks and so on. So after all, you are growing, and your battery power is from the low level becomes the big one.
Okay.
But after you growing, you go to university, you go to the other sections, you go with the depressions and so on and so on. And after all, when you are for example, the kid, and for example, overall, it's you, for example, or Aiden Kennedy, or Ilya, or anyone else.
Right.
It's like this. It's not only this one. It's like this because you are growing. You have more power if you stretch, if you train a lot, if your nutrition is very good, and so on and so on.
Okay.
And you are raising something. And the next one I will connect. There is a bodybuilding, there was a skateboarding, there was a tricking, and here is the UFC, So when we think about the UFC pro athletes like Conor, so here is a guy like this, but he started like this. When you go to 10 years old and go to some gymnasts, they say you late. In tricking, that's not.
Exactly. In tricking, you don't have a time limit. You just need to want to have it, and that's the thing is we also have a different. This is where tricking differentiates from
other sports,
because you don't have an age that you can bow out of. You don't have an age where you have to stop tricking because you're too old. No.
Yes.
You can continue tricking in any different way. Even gymnasts. There was a 40-year-old gymnast who competed in the last Olympics. She was 40. By the age of 25, you're considered old in the gymnastics world. Tricking in itself has no age limit. It's only limited by you. You are the only limit. Now, that's not to say that injuries can't prevent you from stopping. They can. They absolutely can. And in that case, that's something out of your control. Anything out of your control that you can't help. But if you are able to do so, your mind is you are the only thing that's going to stop you from tricking. You are the only thing that's going to stop you from not being able to trick.
I mean, if you eat not much calcium and your nutrition is really poor and really bad, you will break your leg, because your body needs nutritions like vitamins, like minerals, and so on and so on.
Your body does need a lot to run with, and yeah, if you don't take care of it, it's going to break down on you effectively. And I think that's where now, like I said, a lot of trickers are kind of relearning how to do that, is relearning to take care of their bodies, and relearning how to become healthier, and relearning how to become much more strong. And like I said, I do that myself. Like now I'm working on that. I'm working on being able to do that a lot better. So, it is a big thing that we are working towards. And, I think as time goes on, it will get better and it will get stronger.
How to say it? So, if you watching some Conor McGregor fights or something, you was thinking like, okay, there is a guy who started punching people faces, and after all, he is like a multi-millionaire guy. But that's not all the truth, because he have a lot of coaches. Nutrition coach, grappling coach.
To be any high level athlete like that, you're definitely gonna have to take advantage of the things that will make you that. Which means having people who understand nutrition, having people who understand your health and your in the physical body. And again, like I said, it's tricking in itself has these things, but they're we kind of don't really utilize them all too much, because we just tended to just do what we did and push on and push forward. And like I said, and I think now that that's becoming more of an option, people are going to start taking more advantage of it. And it's going to be, and the fruits of that are going to become a lot more seen in the way that we trick and in the way that, our progression goes about.
Yeah, but I actually don't understand why people are still hating, like it's about every single person in the world. Actually, they know a little thing about the guy, and trying to be the best advisor in the world for him, but he doesn't even.
I think we as people are just like that. We are people are just like that. Like we like to think that we know a lot about something or someone, and we don't. And
Yes.
it's just the way that it's presented to the world. Because again, you can see somebody standing on top of the podium every single time, but you don't know what they had to do to get there. You don't know what trials, things they had to face. And granted, like I said, like we as people like to judge without knowing the full situation at times.
Yes, I mean,
And I think that's one of those things where, like I said, like even now, like, if you want to get to that top spot, don't, just do you. Don't try to judge other people. Don't try to judge without knowing first. Kind of be humble in your approach, be humble in what you do, and it'll take you a lot farther than, judging the next person will be. You know what I mean? So that's my take on it.
When I try to reach that, when I try to, we do like there is life is like a spiral, there is you, before you was your parents, before your parents was your grandparents, and so on and so on. So when I was thinking like, okay, right now I'm a guy who live in the Krasnoyarsk in Russia. My parents was like there and there. My grandfathers was like there, and there was a World War II or something. And I like, okay. And after all, this spiral thing is about people's reaction. Like we are playing our own action movie right now. We are, every one of us, playing the action movie.
We're the main characters in our own movies, and however much you choose to do in your life is however much your movie tends to go on and how your movie will progress. And, you know, I absolutely get that. And I think like with trickers and with tricking in itself gives you the ability to be the superhero that you wanted to be when you didn't think you could be. Now, I also think that that's, you know, and that's the way that I see it. Like if you're going to be the character in your own movie, at least be the superhero you wanted to be, you know, build up your own personal legend. You know what I mean? Like, it leaves more for, and it also helps you to live your life in your own way. You know what I mean? So
when I thinking about the tricking as a business, because I'm trying to grow a small business about the video production, about the photography, and I was trying to connect it with the tricking. So I was thinking a lot, like daily for a few years, like, okay, I did a documentary, what next?
Yeah.
Let's take the music, for example. Yeah, there was only 7 notes, but you can play a lot of stuff. In tricking and the business, there was like, for example, 40 notes. Like, you can try to build a business on the building a gym. You can be the famous YouTube blogger. You can be the TikTok blogger. You know, there is a lot of notes we can play with these simple ones. Yes, like there is a lot of melodies. There is really a lot of songs you can play.
Right.
You can even play with this, and this. So. I was growing with the action movies, okay. I was growing with the bodybuilding stuff on YouTube. Like 10 years ago, I was looking a lot of stuff about the fitness in Saint Petersburg. Because there was something like El Dorado in Russia. Yes, like there was a way. There was a long way. Like bodybuilding, there was growing. After all, it becomes in Russia. After all, the guys just even thought, okay, there is a YouTube. And there is a social media for share their ideas, like TED Talks, you know. So after all, there was a group of fitness coaches who try to do their own YouTube blog. They try to sell their sell online their minds, their everything they can produce, and especially the YouTube video will help to grow their costs,
right?
Like Conor McGregor did in the UFC. So right now I'm thinking about how to connect the business and the tricking is just to start this wave about how bodybuilding was growing and how skateboarding was growing and other
I get that, and I think it's just going to take time, and I think it's just going to have to be like, you have to do what you can to it and do what you feel will be worth it for the trickers, and then you have to kind of market that out to the community, and then at that point, that's when you start seeing like, okay, what does the community ask for? What do they want? What do they want to see more of? And I think the more that you do that, the easier it's going to be for you to connect it to the business and be able to kind of understand where it is that you want to go with it, you know? So I think the more that you continue to do that, and I think it becomes, you'll learn how to connect it more as you go along.
So let's finish in our first podcast.
All right. Yeah,
and have like a few more and spend a few more minutes about the last question and try to finish it out. So there is a piece of paper and it's like this. There is a lot of cells in that. And for example, this is the tricking community. Like there is you, there is a Ilya, there is a Aiden Kennedy, and a lot of guys. But there is blank right now. But there is you, and like first generation, second generation, and it's history of tricking actually, because every single view is an action movie. Action movie actor in their own lives.
Yes.
And every single man connects with, like, for example, there is you, there is Ilya. You help to Ilya helps to others,
right.
And so on and so on and so on. And everything as everything is connected.
Right.
Like we are all connected in the world, and we are just people living in this world. So. And look at this. There is a lot of papers
There's a
also.
lot of blank pages. There's a lot of blank pages that have yet to be filled.
Yes. And when I was thinking about the actually business and so on, there is a lot of stuff we can do together. We can collaborate. We can do like.
And that's the thing. It's like
huge.
There's always going to be stuff for the tricking community to do and to collaborate with and to build on top of that story. Now it's more so just seeing where the next level of that goes to. And this is the kind of the beginning chapters of the new version or the new part of that same story. And,
yes.
Again, like I said, it's going to play off of the story before it. It's going to play off the story before that. It's going to take everything that we had before that and add to what's going on now, as well as giving it a new version of life, a new breath of life. And I think that's going to be the most beautiful thing, because I think this is probably going to be one of the like craziest chapters to see, just in terms of like who comes up inside of this chapter.
And this is the very first pilot podcast right now we're building.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, the first one we will just introduce ourselves, but there is a really complex,
we went a few
topic.
different ways with this one, but I think it went pretty. I still think it went fairly well. I think we kind of got into a few deep subjects, but I think it overall came around pretty well.
This is the real good story we built. This is the history of tricking. Actually, like we do something that probably will help to others to reach that idea that everything is possible. And this is.
I do too. And I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
So let's finish in all the stuff. My name is Vasily Tatarnikov.
My name is Coneys, and this has been a great pilot podcast. And I feel like we can do, and hopefully we'll have some more with some different people and some different guests. And thank you to everybody who has listened and stayed with us throughout this entire thing. Sure. We appreciate it. I appreciate it as well. And yeah, guys, until the next one, and stay happy, stay tricking, stay safe, and stay healthy.
Yep. See you guys. Thanks
for
watching. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Have a good sessions. Take care.
Take care.